Welcome to the Valley of the Sun, and tonight the St. Louis Cardinals begin their first road trip of 2009 as they take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks only a couple of wins so far, and the Cardinals are 5-2 thanks to great starting pitching. In particular, yesterday's win by Kyle Loge, one of the best starts we've seen in years back home in St. Louis. Look at that line as Kyle Loge finished off the game and finished off a win for St. Louis. With Al Rabowski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Welcome to the broadcast booth. We're delighted to have you with us as we have 5 games in a row here on Fox Sports Midwest. And Al, when you take a look at the starting rotation, so far so good for Tony La Russa.
Exactly right. 5-2 start. Some really dominant performances by the Cardinals starters, but I think it can get better. I think Wellemeyer is going to settle in. Hopefully tonight he'll pitch a good game. And, you know, Wainwright can be more efficient. He's 1-0, but he struggled just getting through 5 innings.
Well, let's talk about tonight. You've got one guy that hasn't made a lot of starts with another guy that has. It's Todd Wellemeyer and Doug Davis.
Well, Wellemeyer had his breakthrough season last year, winning 13 games with a good ERA. But as you said, Doug Davis and the Cardinals have seen an awful lot of him, particularly with his days with Milwaukee. He's 4-5 in his career against them, and Wellemeyer is still looking for his first win against Arizona.
Well, we're looking forward to this one, the first of 3 against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Skip Schumacher, we'll talk about him when we come back. He's just skipping along at second base. A look at Skip when we come back. A week is in the books for the Cardinals, and one of their great stories so far is Skip Schumacher, who has made the transition from outfield to second base. It hasn't affected the offense. How about defensively? He came up with a few gems in that first week, and also the turn at second base. One of the toughest things for him to do at second this year. Last year, you might remember he started out 0 for 15. This year off to a spectacular start, 7 for 21. Skip Schumacher of the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll be back with more from Chase Field in Arizona. The Cardinals and the Diamondbacks. Game 1 just around the corner. First pitch is just around the corner. Our first road trip of the season is tonight from Phoenix, Arizona, as big number 37 gets the start. That's Todd Wellemeyer of the St. Louis Cardinals. Doug Davis, the lefty of the Diamondbacks. He'll get the ball for Arizona. The D-backs, the Cardinals, next on Fox Sports Midwest. Cardinals baseball from Arizona is brought to you by Bud Light, with just the right taste. It never fills you up. The difference is drinkability. By Steak and Shake, famous for steak burgers. And by Auto Tire, for the lowest prices in town. Choose Auto Tire. We shop the competitors so you don't have to. Bob Melvin, Tony La Russa squaring off for the first time here in 2009. Tony's team off to a real nice start following the opening homestand at Busch Stadium. There's a look at Bob Melvin. They're off to a slow start. They have a lot of home games, though, early on, so they need to turn things around. Starting tonight, let's look at the Cardinals lineup. Their batting order begins with a former Arizona Diamondback, Brian Barden, Khalil Green, and then Albert Pujols, Ludwig, Duncan, who's off to a very fine start. 6-game hitting streak, which is right behind that of Ryan Ludwig, and then Freese, Ankiel, LaRue, and Wellemeyer. Ludwig's, of course, dates back to last season. And the lefty is on the mound for the Diamondbacks, and that's Doug Davis.
Doug Davis making his second start of the year. And he's a type of pitcher that doesn't want to throw strikes. He wants you to go after his pitches out of the strike zone. For a left-hander, he's very good at getting the ball in on the right-handed batters with his cutter.
Let's a look at the Marshall Wireless numbers for our starter tonight, Doug Davis of the Diamondbacks. So here's Brian Barden playing second base. He has 1 RBI, a key RBI, a game-winning hit for the St. Louis Cardinals. He is 1 for 6. He did that last Thursday against Pittsburgh. Now, Barden was telling me that he was drafted in 2002 by Arizona. Made the opening day roster back in 2007 for the Diamondbacks, and then 11 days later, he found himself back in the minor leagues, and the Cardinals picked him up. That pitch is taken a little bit low, 1 ball, 1 strike. One thing about Doug Davis, Al, is that he takes his time, and he is a slow, deliberate pitcher out there on the mound.
Very much so, and he tries to use that to work for him.
At the knees, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Kind of guy that usually his pitches up in the strike zone and gets you to chase a lot of his pitches out of the strike zone.
Outfield is straight away for Brian Barden. Here comes a 1-2 pitch. They want it upstairs, trying to get him to chase. He didn't. 2-2. Cardinals coming off a sweep against Houston. And the Diamondbacks now have developed a little bit of a rivalry with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They finished up their series with LA over the weekend. The Dodgers took 2 of 3. Manny Ramirez, by the way, made some headlines today. Bob Nightingale is with us here in Arizona, and he is the baseball writer for USA Today. And Manny Ramirez said, front page article, hey, I wouldn't mind playing another year, and if I do so, wouldn't mind doing it in Cleveland with Jim Thome.
Yeah, try to drag Thome into it.
Yeah. Sure, Jim Thome wakes up and he's thinking, are you kidding me? This is what I have to deal with?
Well, but I mean, I think they're getting ready to have opening day in Dodger State in LA.
Yeah,
and,
today.
He goes, hey, I like it there, but that's where he started his first 10 years of his professional career with the Cleveland organization.
3-2 the count on Brian Barden. He signed that big deal with Boston and played for the Red Sox. Barden spoils another 3-2 pitch, lined into the seats. Sparse crowd so far here at Chase Field in Arizona.
These Diamondbacks not playing good baseball right now, and a lot of it has to do with their offense. They have the first game of their first 2 series, they've exploded for runs, but after that, they've had a hard time getting across home plate.
Another 3-2 pitch, check swing, and he went. Barden strikes out. Take a look at the defense behind Davis. Connor Jackson, Chris Young, and Justin Upton. The outfield, Reynolds, Stephen Drew, Felipe Lopez, the former Cardinal, and then Chad Tracy. And the battery tonight, Doug Davis and Chris Snyder. The Auto Tire defense for Arizona. Of course, Khalil Green, with his time in San Diego, saw Arizona all bunch of times, and he's 5 for 29 against this lefty. He started out the season with a streak of 4 RBIs and hitting .280. He is 7 for 25.
Big 3-hit game yesterday's up that average.
Can't say enough, Al, about the start for the Redbirds from Kyle Loge. Boy, how good was he yesterday?
Well, last time a National Leaguer retired 24 in a row was the big unit.
And that was a no-hitter against the Atlanta Braves back in '04, I believe. And there's a look at Loge. He was kind enough to join us on the pregame show. Loge at one point, what was it, 24 straight?
24 leadoff single, and then all the way to the 9th inning, retiring 24 straight.
Breaking ball, grounded to third, handled by Reynolds, and the tag there by Chad Tracy. But Kyle Loge off to a very fine start. Year 1 of a 4-year deal. And visiting with him on the pregame show, he said, you know, it's nice to have a little security right now. You know, this is a situation where if you go back a year ago, he's trying to get a contract and trying to get something of an extension that he felt was fair. And certainly the Cardinals gave him a nice extension, and he's in the fold for the next 4 years.
And it's the first multi-year contract he's ever had. So it's good to see him live up to it.
Had a nice conversation with Kyle McClellan before the game about Albert Pujols, where Kyle had a chance to visit with some of the guys over on the other side for Houston. They say, well, you see him every day. How do you pitch to Albert Pujols? And essentially, he said, good luck. I mean, you can try to go in, you go out, you go up, you go down. It doesn't matter. This guy is going to hit you. And Pujols is off to a great start. 9 for 24, 3 home runs, and 9 RBIs so far. Here's a 1-1 pitch to Albert. Put on a show during BP. 1-2.
Albert, one of the few hitters that has had success against Davis, and he talks so much about how his lower half, how quiet it is, his hands are quiet, but there's one thing we don't say enough about, and that's that his head never moves.
That's something that, you know, goes into what Todd Wellemeyer's trying to do tonight on the mound.
Well, because when your head moves, you know, everything else moves. That's why you have to almost, freeze to be hit in the head, because if you move any part of your body, you know, it's going to stay still. But watch how quiet his entire body, including the head, just doesn't move. It does, you know, doesn't go left, right. It just right there in sync with his entire body.
Here comes a 1-2 pitch to Albert Pujols from Davis. Instead, time is called, and mentioned Wellemeyer. Wellemeyer's going to try to simplify his delivery towards the plate for a lack of movement with his head. He was talking about that with me before the game. That's chopped up the middle, backhanded by the former Cardinal Felipe Lopez. Redbirds go in order against Davis here in the first. No score after a half inning. And here at Chase Field in Arizona, it's gorgeous. The paneling out there you see is open as well beyond the left and right field walls. Look at the batting order for the Diamondbacks. The former Cardinal Felipe Lopez is 7 for 24 to start his Arizona career. Then Young and Drew. We'll see Jackson, Tracy, Reynolds, Upton, Snyder, and Davis. Khalil Green with a chance, and Felipe Lopez is retired. Had a good start here for Todd Wellemeyer. First batter retired, and his record is 0-1 with an ERA close to 9. But Al, he's talking about trying to really work on things as far as his delivery is concerned. He's one of those guys that, you know, not even an hour and a half ago, I was in the clubhouse visiting with Todd Wellemeyer before this start tonight. He doesn't really mind you talking to him about the start. He's not one of those guys that says, well, I shut everybody off, including teammates and media and everybody else. He doesn't mind talking, and he said he's really trying to simplify his mechanics here tonight, in particular with his delivery. So don't expect him to take that glove and
over his head,
his pitching arm over his head. He said he's going to keep it below, and hopefully, he said, that will keep his head straight. He said it's amazing, but you don't even think about it. He said you're just out there throwing, but all of a sudden you run into a rut, and then you have to go back and look at some film and figure out what made you right. So let's see if this works out for Todd here tonight.
Well, already he is so much better than in his first start. He went 5 innings, gave up 5 earned runs. The good part about that was his innings 4 and 5 were much improved over the first 3. Threw a ton of pitches, gave up 11 hits, and just couldn't get his breaking ball or his changeup down. So simplify things. And so much, you know, an emotion. Everything going over your head and doing all those things, it's counterproductive because it's not going towards home plate. So simplify it. You have less margin for error and just attack the low part of the zone.
That's a good pitch there.
It's a breaking ball, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, he's always had a good slider. He's always had a good changeup. But in start number 1, everything was up. Got underneath his frisbee slider and the changeup up.
He just didn't look comfortable.
Yeah, he didn't look comfortable at all. And this is a team he's never defeated, the Arizona ball club.
2-2 is popped up, and Jason LaRue will give it a look, and it's out of play. LaRue getting the start tonight with Molina on the bench, and the reason why, one of the reasons why, is because LaRue has had very good success against Doug Davis.
And Molina has not. Molina's 1 for 13 against him, and it's the first day he's had off in the young season. So
little bit outside, and low 3-2. Chris Young 5 for 22 with a home run and 1 RBI so far this year. But that would make sense, Al. I mean, you were a former pitcher, you would know. Just trying to simplify things as much as you can to get to the strike zone. Third baseman wants it. That's David Freese. So Wellemeyer, his first start was on Wednesday night. Al, what are you seeing here?
Well, you see, he's trying to eliminate the glove over the head. That's the one thing he's trying to do. But that's all counterproductive. Well, let's just watch how it was supposed to be inside. The ball's outside. He got a strikeout out of it. But he gave up 12 hits and 5 earned runs in those 5 innings. The high leg kick. Ball not going where he wants it. It's elevated. So just kind of simplify things.
There's a rope off the bat of Stephen Drew, left center field. That ball gets down. Tell you what, Stephen Drew is going to be, before it's all said and done, I guess you could say he already is. He's going to be a heck of a player, partner. He is 4 for 6, by the way. Now 5 for 7 in his career against Todd Wellemeyer.
Well, they really like this young man, and rightfully so. They've got some good talent here. Low ball hitter from the left side. Goes down and gets that ball. Good arm extension and lift. And drives it out there. But, I mean, he was a terrific offensive force a year ago and off to a good start this year.
We've talked about it when J.D. Drew was with the Cardinals. Stephen Drew used to come around and work with Jose Oquendo on ground balls at shortstop. Before he was even out of high school, he'd come back to the old Busch Stadium and work out with the Cardinals, and now he's in the major leagues. Here's Connor Jackson. First pitch taken a little bit upstairs. He's 5 for 24 with 3 RBIs. You mentioned, Al, that this team has struggled offensively, and they certainly have. As a team, only hitting .218.
.218, and like I said, they had 2 big offensive games, but other than that, and it was the first game of a series, but then they've struggled to score runs. They are not striking out as alarmingly as they did last year, but they had 5 guys in the middle of their lineup with over 100 strikeouts, including their third baseman who set a major league record, Mark Reynolds, with 204 strikeouts.
Another thing I want you to look at tonight, if you can, Al, and explain to the fans, is the landing foot of Todd Wellemeyer and where he plants. He talked about that being an issue as well, trying to drive towards home plate. And if you're off a little bit, that little margin can make a huge difference.
Yeah, a lot of times, traditionally left-handers throw more across their body than right-handers, but a lot of times you just go out there and you'll draw a line in the dirt and make sure that when your landing foot comes across that line, and try to just say, if you do everything mechanically right, the top and lower half will all fall in place.
There's a strike, 3-1.
Golf game, more movement you have, the more chance for error. So
thanks for reminding me.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
And you didn't even play today.
No. Thanks for reminding me.
You already knew it was messed up, right?
Yes, I did. I need help. Here comes a 3-1 pitch to Connor Jackson. He chased a ball and it's popped up. And his shallow right, Brian Barden, the former Diamondback, is there, and Wellemeyer strands a runner. We played one here in the desert. No score. Our keys to the game are presented by Toyota. Al, what do you have?
Well, Wellemeyer, he was efficient in keeping the ball down. That's a real key for him. Make Davis throw strikes. He doesn't want to throw strikes to you. He wants you to expand his zone. And most importantly, you must win the first game. The Cardinals have a 4-game winning streak. The Diamondbacks have scored the abundance of their runs in the first game of a series. So let's kind of put the pressure on them. Tell them that you can just contain this. And by the way, the Cardinals pitching staff now currently has a 15-inning scoreless streak they're working on.
Ludwig lines out to short. Here is Duncan. And Chris Duncan getting the start against a left-handed pitcher. He had only, 5 hits and 34 at-bats against left-handed pitching last year. And already here in 09, he has just 1 less hit against lefties. So good vote of confidence here from Tony La Russa to give Duncan the start against this lefty.
Well, part of the issue is we got 4 outfielders and 3 of them are left-handed hitters.
Yep. So take your pick.
Yeah, you've got to have some. And the more left-handers they see, the better they're going to be. Skip Schumacher has really turned things around facing lefties.
Skip, of course, now looked at as a more so as a second baseman than he is an outfielder.
Exactly.
Had a nice conversation with Jose Oquendo about Skip today, and they are very pleased with what he's been able to do as Duncan spins out of the way. And they feel that he is going to be a lot better than people think, and he's already made strides in that direction and probably ahead of the game where they thought he might be at this point in the year.
I am totally convinced that he's going to be better than fine, and it just helps the ball club.
Duncan pops it up. Roof is open. Find the baseball in foul territory. Mark Reynolds for the second out. Visit the official online shop of the Cardinals at stlcardinals.com, and you can browse the largest selection of authentic gear, including caps, t-shirts, jerseys, and more. Get your Cardinals gear straight from the source, stlcardinals.com. So there's a look at Skip visiting right there with Khalil Green and Brian Barden.
Well, we were just talking about that the Cardinals have 4 outfielders. 3 of them are left-handed hitter. Now, if you throw Skip back in there, you got 5 for those 3 spots with 4 of them left-handed hitters. And really, to be honest, who is better or who has proven that they can be an offensive force like Skip was last year as leadoff man and hitting 300. None of the other middle infielders really had that, pedigree.
Here's David Freese with 2 outs and nobody on. The next from Davis. Strike at the knees. 0-2. Troy Gloss, by the way, is here in Arizona rehabbing, and I believe we saw him in uniform in the pregame, I guess, Al.
Yeah, we saw him walking into the trainer's room.
In uniform, ready to roll. The next 2, Freeze upstairs. There's a look at Troy.
And it's my understanding he will be evaluated the next time is like June 1st. So even if you get a good evaluation then, he's got to go through his spring training and misses the first half.
Here's a grounder. They haven't played perfectly. Felipe Lopez. The Cardinals go in order. Tracy, Reynolds, and that man, Justin Upton, coming up for the D-backs. Look at Arizona. No score here in the second. Here's Chad Tracy.
Chad Tracy healthy this year after having knee problem, missed 50 games a year ago.
3 for 5 against Wellemeyer. And 5 for 16 on the young year. Chad Tracy, Mark Reynolds, and Justin Upton. And a curveball that's pulled foul. It was Barry Weinberg down there that was hitting the deck. Hopefully he's all right. The Cardinal trainer. He's supposed to be helping everybody that gets hurt. He can't get hurt.
He went flying out of there, and I'm worried about whether he took a header.
1-2 the count. And the next 2, Chad Tracy. Ground ball handled easily by Albert Pujols. Well, I think everybody around baseball, and certainly you and I, Al, were saddened by the news today of the longtime voice of the Phillies passing away. Harry Kalas had been with the Phillies since the early 1970s. The voice of NFL films. So if you're just tuning in and you're a football fan, maybe you don't know about Harry Kalas.
You know his voice.
Yeah, as a Phillies broadcaster, certainly you know the voice, and such a wonderful man.
Yeah, Harry was with the Phillies since 1971 and one of the voices of the Colt 45s.
What do you remember about Harry?
Just the voice, you never forget that, but he was always such a nice man and always had a smile on his face. And when he did the broadcast with Richie Ashburn, there was such a combination there that those Phillies fans really had a treat.
And I believe, Al, when he went into the Hall of Fame, it was the same year as Ozzie Smith.
Yes, it was. And that was the only time I went to Cooperstown. It was for that induction. So I saw Harry and Ozzie that day. And last few years, his health has been in decline, but really saddened by that news. And that wasn't the only thing to shock the baseball world.
The Bird, Mark Fidrich, a guy that you knew fairly well, is passed away as well today.
Yeah, I got to know, Mark really after his playing days, and they were cut short, through injury. But what a sensational rookie season he had, and just he was so delightful, and what an entertainer that first year. And it was just so naive and just such youthfulness that he was
fun to watch.
Oh, I mean, he was fun to watch.
I mean, you were an entertainer on the mound, Al, and you can appreciate.
Mine was controlled hate. His was just.
This is trouble here. Out to left center, but that'll stay in the ballpark as Keel puts it away. Continue to talk about Harry Kalas when we come back. And Keel due up first. No score. Top of the third rolls in. The Cardinals continue their 3-game set with the D-backs tomorrow on Fox Sports Midwest. Coverage starts with Cardinals Live at 8, and the Cardinals and Diamondbacks tomorrow on Fox Sports Midwest. And of course, we're your home of Cardinals baseball, as well as your home to the St. Louis Blues. How about the Blues? They move up to the 6th spot in the Western Conference after their win in Colorado yesterday, and they'll open up with Vancouver on Wednesday night. That's a great story. Great sports story.
You must have been listening the other day when we said you don't want to open up against Detroit or San Jose.
That was my thoughts. And I know you're a fan, and that's what you thought too.
That's right. So congratulations to them.
Al, since early January, record-wise, they're the best team in the league. It's just a great story. So Dave Checketts and his group, and John Davidson, who, by the way, is a big baseball fan, congratulations to them. I talked to J.D., who is the Blues president, on Saturday morning. I had a chance to visit after that really emotional night on Friday. And that's a foul ball, but caught. He said one of the first phone calls that he got from Tony La Russa.
Really?
Yeah, he said Tony left him a really nice message, and then he called him back. They had a chance to chit-chat. And he said, but Tony was one of the first guys that said congratulations and way to go, that he's been following the Blues and what they've been able to do. So it's a great story. It really is. Back to Harry Kalas for a moment. I remember we were in Philadelphia, and Scott Rowland then was with the Cardinals, and it was Harry Kalas Day, and he was going around the vet in a convertible as there's a base hit, the first of the night for Jason LaRue. And essentially that was the day that Scott Rowland returned to Philly, you might remember. And Scott Rowland said, I don't care how much I get booed, I'm popping out of the dugout to make sure to show my appreciation for Harry Kalas and to shake his hand. And you might remember that, Al. We were doing the game, and you know, something that stuck out to me, that you know, Scott Rowland had that much appreciation for Harry Kalas, and we do as well.
Yeah, and some of the other Phillies players over the years, you know, some of their comments about Harry Kalas was very touching.
Here's a bunt by Wellemeyer, and the sacrifice is good. 3-4 on the sacrifice, and LaRue moves up to second base, and it brings in the Cardinal leadoff man, Brian Barden, tonight. Good job by Todd Wellemeyer. Take a look at Chad Tracy here and Felipe Lopez.
See what they're doing in the infield as first baseman fields it and flips it over to Lopez.
Our buddy John Reynolds, who is a St. Louisan that's now living in Los Angeles. I called him the other day, and I got his voice message, and on the voice message, Harry Kalas. John is out of here.
Yeah.
Isn't that something, though?
Yeah. Well, and that's what I know of Jason Stark.
Here's a line drive out to center field, but it'll hang up for Chris Young. We'll talk about Jason Stark, who's based out of Philly, longtime baseball writer, when we come back. There's no score. Here's a look at Todd Wellemeyer, tonight's starter for the Cardinals. And look at his breakout year a season ago. And what stands out, Al, how about the ERA? 4.98 in 2003 through 07, then 08 as a starter, 3.71.
It was the lowest ERA of the starters of a year ago, and you know, really showed you what he can do.
Here's Snyder, and he rips it foul. Of course, Dave Duncan has had these cases in which he takes on a guy that I guess you would want to classify him on the fringe. Is he a starter? Is he a reliever? And I talked to Todd, like I said before the game, and he said, this is what I prefer. I want to start. I feel this is best for me. I'm conditioned to do it, but you have to give Dave Duncan now a lot of credit for what he's done with a lot of these guys.
Well, absolutely. And Wellemeyer, really not quite the same pattern as many of Dave's success stories, where he took a guy that had achieved a certain level of success and then brought him back to prominence. Wellemeyer really was kind of bounced around with 3 or 4 different organizations, being released.
Play for the shortstop, Khalil Green, and in the outfield grass, he'll make the catch. Irish Heritage Night at the ballpark is April 21st. The Cardinals host the Mets. Better believe I'll be there. Celebrate your Irish heritage with a pregame on-field parade. Your ticket includes a pregame buffet and a free souvenir For tickets, visit stlcardinals.com/heritage nights or call 345-9500. The luck of the Irish. Got to wear your green. We'll even let the Hungarians in. Irish Heritage Night. And you're not smiling, Al. Here's Doug Davis.
Just listening to you.
Now, Doug Davis had a much more serious comeback off the field compared to Todd Wellemeyer. He entered his 10th Major League season last year. He was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, made 2 starts in the regular season, then had surgery to remove his thyroid. And following surgery, he was given radioactive iodine treatment to kill any remaining cancer. And after nearly 2 months of recovering, he came back for the Diamondbacks. And there is no question, partner, this is a great story. Diamondbacks, Cardinals, baseball, cancer survivors, whatever you want to talk about, it's wonderful.
Yeah, and he's been very durable throughout his career. Ranks 4th with 162 starts and 5th with his 96 quality starts since 04.
Knocked down by Wellemeyer. Can they make a play? He'll throw to first, not in time. So base hit for Doug Davis. And Wellemeyer took one off his leg. That's Barry Weinberg there.
I think he just told Barry that it was on the sole of his shoe. So obviously it didn't catch flesh or bone. And he says he's all right.
It's back to the top of the lineup, and Felipe Lopez.
A couple things here is, as you see, fall through, and then it goes off his foot, the sole of his foot, scrambles and gets it. His momentum carried him into foul territory, and Albert did the right thing by coming into foul territory along with him, so you don't throw it into the runner where you have a collision between the two.
The Cardinals really catch a break in this series with Brandon Webb. He's one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. He's on the DL.
And he was going to make a start in this series.
Right. And their manager was talking about it before the game, and the fact is they want to be overly cautious with Brandon Webb, and rightfully so, as LaRue finds the baseball. But had a little soreness, and they just said, you know what, let's just shut him down, make sure he gets to be 100%, then we'll bring him back.
He's a former Cy Young Award winner and the runner-up the last 2 seasons. So a lot of games yet to play, so get him right. And they had a little stint on the disabled list, I think it was last year. And all it took was that brief period of time before he got himself right.
And it's 2 balls and no strikes on Lopez.
How about opening day for Felipe?
Yeah, a couple of home runs, and he's got 4 RBIs.
You know, they set a major league record, something that never happened in the game, but Felipe hit a home run from each side of the plates, and so did the big first baseman Tony Clark. Did the same thing, and his first-time teammates have ever done that, from hit home runs from both sides of the plate on opening day.
One of the reasons they brought back Tony Clark is that they love him as a clubhouse leader. You know, you're around, Al, regular season, as you well know, is 6 months. You add in spring training, which is, oh, that's a fair ball down into the left field corner. Duncan over to get it. They'll hold up the runner at third. That's Doug Davis, and it's a double for Felipe Lopez, the former Cardinal. I was about to say, though, you're with each other for more than half the year, and you're around each other probably more than your own family. So you got to have guys that can lead, and they feel that Tony Clark is one of those guys.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at Felipe. The running ball, fastball, just staying up a little bit, running sideways, and just hit right on the chalk line, foul line down there. With the pitcher running, it's a good thing that Davis only gets to third base. You think with a position player, they might have sent him home.
Now you have Chris Young, who popped out to third first time up.
Well, they have so many young players in this team, so you need a real strong individual like Tony Clark. And he's a big man, but he's a gentle giant. But he's a real leader to where these young guys can look and mature and learn how to play the game the right way.
Chris Young on the season, 217, 1 home run, 1 RBI. Runners at second and third. The outfield, for the most part, is straight away here for the center fielder of the Diamondbacks. And this is popped up. Good pitch by Wellemeyer on the infield. Barton wants it, and he's got it. Big out for the Cardinals.
Well, this is what happened repeatedly, only a little different. They would pop up pitches, they would do things, but a year ago they would always strike out in key situations. It got so bad last year that there were times when Bob Melvin wouldn't, in a running count, he would not have the runner going on a 3-2 pitch because he was worried about the double play. Strike him out, throw him out. They struck out almost 1,300 times a year ago, second most in the major leagues.
Here's Stephen Drew. He doubled first time up. Fan favorite here in Arizona. Runners at second and third. And this pitch is popped up, but that'll find the seats out of play. You saw Felipe Lopez, partner, hit the chalk with that double. How many guys has Tony La Russa really given a lot of at-bats to you know, show what they can do? And certainly you think about Aaron Miles, and you know, this year it might be Thurston or whoever the case is in that bench, but last year a lot of playing time for Felipe Lopez.
Absolutely. That's kind of why Adam Kennedy requested a trade, because of all the playing time for Felipe Lopez. And he told me today he wanted to come back.
Money, I guess, was the difference. You know, guaranteed contract, and you got pretty good money from the Diamondbacks.
Well, but I mean, it's the way it indicated to me that there really was never an offer made to him.
We saw him all those years in Cincinnati as their shortstop. The Cardinals picked him up, finished up very strongly, and then now signed with Arizona. 2 balls, 1 strike on Stephen Drew.
I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, unintentionally they kind of pitch around Stephen Drew.
I agree with you, Al. You got Connor Jackson on deck, who was 5 for 25 to start the year, and this guy has really hit the Cardinals pretty well.
I mean, you don't want to go out there and just potentially pass somebody, but don't give in to this guy.
Little tapper out to Wellemeyer. He'll throw a 100-mile-an-hour fastball to Pujols, who has to take off the glove. Gets out of the jam, and there's no score. No score, and there's 4 hits aside, 3 for Arizona. And you may have had some great seats in the ballpark, but have you seen the view from the dugout? Experience it by taking a tour of Busch Stadium. And tours normally occur daily except on days with afternoon home games. And for more information, you can call 345-9565, area code 314. Visit, as always, stlcardinals.com. Arizona Diamondbacks will host the 2011 All-Star Game. An announcement made by Bud Selig on Saturday afternoon here at Chase Field. Of course, the Cardinals will have it this year, and then the Angels will have it. And then you'll see it here in Arizona.
And Arizona will come into St. Louis right after the All-Star break.
Can't wait for it. That should be a lot of fun. We got the Home Run Derby and all the events, the Futures game that leads up to the actual All-Star game, all the interactive games for the kids.
You ever been to a
I have,
Fan
yes.
Fest?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. That'll start, I think, on Saturday before the game.
Right.
On Tuesday. And so that'll be at America's Center.
Here's Khalil Green, who grounded out to third his first time up. And Green hits a fly ball out to right. Over to get it, Justin Upton, and he puts it away for the first out. And here brings in Albert Pujols.
Well, Albert's had success against Doug Davis in the past. Davis got him first time out. Well, maybe we'll kind of take a look and see how they approach. It's not Prince Albert anymore, it's King Albert.
King Albert, huh? Pujols is now 9 for 25, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, 19 total bases to start the year. First pitch to him at the knees and a strike.
87-mile-an-hour fastball, pretty much down the middle.
He is 12 for 34 against this lefty. And what do they want to come with here on pitch number 2?
Nice changeup.
And Pujols hits it a ton out to left field. Goodbye. 1-0 Cardinals. Another home run, number 4 on the year for Albert Pujols. He went down and got it, and the Cardinals lead it 1-0 here in Arizona.
Well, I mean, the way he took the fastball, he was looking for something, and I think he got it, because he went down, as you said, and got that changeup. and just lifted it out of the ballpark with that line drive. His 4th home run. Didn't want the slider. Here's a changeup call. And just look at how he adjusts and goes down, and he was looking for this. Pitch that's designed to get you out on your front foot. Well, it didn't fool Albert.
I've asked you this before. I'll ask you again. See, even Yadi's talking about it. Well, I'm back, and then I'm going forward. I'm on my front. It doesn't matter with this guy. He's that good. So I'll ask you again, as Ludwig pulls one foul, without giving me the answer of carefully or don't, how would you pitch to Albert Pujols?
I'd hit him.
Spoken like the true Mad Hungarian.
I mean, I hit him or he hits me. It's that simple.
He is something else. Fought off into center field and a base hit for Ludwig.
You know, Dan, there are certain guys, and I wouldn't put Albert in this case, but, you know, sometimes when you have trouble with a guy, you know, you just throw the ball right down the middle, and you let him, you know, confuse himself. Should I inside out it? Should I tomahawk it?
It's a great point.
Can I do this, do that? But with Albert,
I've talked to guys.
That would not be a good idea with Albert.
I've talked to guys, and I've said to them, okay, this guy is on fire the last 3-4 weeks. He's hitting 500. Where do you want to pitch him? Down the middle is what they say.
Down the middle and let him confuse himself.
And people say, what are you talking about? This one is lifted to the opposite field. Pretty well hit. That'll stay in the ballpark off the bat of Duncan. And Ludwig is back to first. But people say, what are you talking about? And the pitchers that I've talked to said, well, they're expecting something in, low, outside. They're not expecting anything right down the middle. So that might be the best way to do it.
You know, that was the best way to pitch guys that were notorious bad ball hitters. You know, that would, you know, Manny Sanguillen. You know, you threw one over his head, he'd hit a rope. You threw one right down the middle, he'd confuse himself and, you know, pop it up or tap it back at you or something like that.
Freeze over to work on his bat, and now he'll dig in with a couple of down, and the Cardinals with a 1-0 lead. Albert Pujols has picked up where he left off last year, which was an MVP season.
This looks like more like, what was it, 2 years ago when he really just carried the club in April.
That was 06, I believe.
06?
Yeah. He had just a historic year and a historic month.
Yeah, remember there were some people last year that thought he was having a totally off season early in the year because he just wasn't hit as well.
And I think, Al, if memory serves me correct, I mean, you go back to 06, in which the Cardinals obviously won in the final weekend of that regular season, thanks to Scott Spezio with a huge triple on a Saturday afternoon against Milwaukee. But without that first month of Albert Pujols, you're probably talking about a team that doesn't make it a postseason play.
Oh, absolutely. Only won 83 games. And he was on fire in the first month. I mean,
right.
Game-winning hits night after night.
Here's David Freese. And a 1-0 pitch. 2 balls and no strikes. Mentioned on Friday night how David Freese, a St. Louisan, played at Merrimack Community College. And a great story where he was, in his words, sick of baseball coming out of high school, didn't play the first year after high school, wanted to play, got the itch to play, and then broke both wrists playing basketball. So essentially 2 years out of the game. So he just might be coming into his own. This guy has been in his zone, though, for a long time. Albert Pujols, 1-0. Al, tell us straight here. What do you see?
Well, you see, watch his head. It's inside the circle. This is the home run swing. It's on a changeup. His body goes forward a little bit. He goes down, but the head stays inside that circle. So little movement. It's just remarkable.
Connor Jackson with a base hit on the first pitch. Diamondbacks half of the fourth. He's 1 for 2. 1 pitch and a base hit. Welcome back to Arizona. Cardinals have a 1-0 lead thanks to a solo home run by Albert Pujols. You know, we were talking about Harry Kalas, Al, and I'm curious about your thoughts with Vin Scully, because you grew up in Southern California. You think about the great voices of the game, and certainly for anybody that grew up in St. Louis like myself, it's Jack Buck. But for you, it was, you know, listening to Vin Scully, and then all of a sudden you're in St. Louis and it's Jack Buck.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't go wrong picking either one of them. But I always felt that, you know, Vin Scully always had to have a radio down in the bullpen to listen to his storytelling. You know, he's so unbelievable telling stories, where Jack painted this unbelievable picture doing the game and was an artist and got his storytelling in, but the game was, you know, you knew everything that was happening.
He was unbelievable.
And then, you know, I don't care. There's never been a better Toastmaster than Jack Buck. And you know, I remember, I think they had a Harry Carey roast many years ago, and it was in Las Vegas.
In Vegas with Harry Carey?
Yeah, and they had, you know, every comedian there, and Jack Buck stole the show.
Well, I can imagine. We certainly miss him, no doubt about that.
You know, Ernie Harwell, and all these different, you know. There's been so many voices of the game that have been so well. And, you know, our buddy we'll see in Chicago has done that great job with doing the storytelling of the voices of the game in his CDs.
Here's the next pitch, the 1-1. And a fair ball past Albert Pujols. Into the corner it goes. Jackson waved in. He'll score easily. And we're tied up at 1-1. They'll throw behind the runner, and they've got him.
Once again, Albert
Tracy
Pujols
is gunned out at second base, and Pujols another heads-up play.
I mean, you know, all the time, Albert, his head is totally in a ball game.
Al, you were thinking of Pat Hughes.
Pat Hughes,
yep.
Exactly right. But right inside the bag, down in the corner, so a long run for Ludwig. You see Connor Jackson come around here. He scores without a play. But the throw came into Albert, the cutoff man. And watch Ludwig. He hits the cutoff man, but look at this. With no real, didn't even look. It's a double, but then he rounds the bag and alertly, you know, Cleo Green's there, but there's also Albert. Fires a strike to him so he can apply the tag before he gets back to the bag.
Al, there's a couple of things that happened on that play with Albert Pujols concerning Jose Oquendo. I had a chance to visit with him before the game. I said, all right, you're a coach. You have Albert's ear. What do you tell him to work on in the offseason? And he said, the one thing I tell him is, with a runner at first, get off the bag a little quicker. Make sure you're able to cover more ground. He said, you talk about 5-tool players. He said, number 6, if you're going to go to 6, is baseball sense. There might not be a better guy than Albert Pujols. And I brought up the play where he cut off the throw from right field and threw behind the runner at first, and Brendan Ryan was covering, and just like that, where you have that baseball sense to throw to second. He said, I'm not sure there's a better guy that does that. He said, but, you know, you can nitpick all you want. That might be the one thing we ask him to do, is get off first base a little bit quicker or cover more ground. He said, but man, am I reaching. He said, there's not much we can tell this guy.
I was up here and I was watching you talk with Oquendo, and I could see his footwork. And this, so now I know what you're talking about.
He drew the whole thing up for me. And, you know, Jose is so good with Skip and the middle infielders, and he just can't say enough. And a presence to be able to talk to these guys, too. You know, I mean, they respect what he has done in the game, and they respect what he does now. And he's got Albert's ear. There's no question about it. So they talked about footwork and holding a runner on and trying to get off the bag. And there's a strikeout for Wellemeyer of Reynolds.
Well, and Reynolds, who was talking about, had 204 to set a major league record last year in the strikeout department. But
well, before and after every game here on Fox Sports Midwest, tune in for Cardinals Live. Pat Paris, Jim Hayes bring you the latest Cardinals news. And former Cardinals pitcher Cal Eldred has joined us on the pregame show. Ricky Horton breaks down the postgame. Complete Cardinals pre and postgame coverage. Cardinals Live on Fox Sports Midwest.
You know, when I'm just so amazed with Albert is, you know, here's truly the game's finest superstar.
He is.
And yet, you know, he is so into it from a team standpoint that he does not put himself above other people, that he out there doing everything. You know, we've all seen clubs where the superstar doesn't stretch with every, you know, the teammates. They don't do this, don't do that. Albert's out there always trying to be an example.
There's a check swing and into the seats. Of course, Mike Shannon has a nice relationship with Albert. Those two will visit tomorrow on the pregame show. Always get a kick out of what the Moon Man has to ask, especially to Albert. Those two get along very well. By the way, we should mention that Jack Clark is in for Ricky Horton tonight. Good pitch, off speed delivery from Todd Wellemeyer, and a strikeout of Justin Upton, who is now 0 for 11 on the season. One game here in the top of the fifth inning here in Arizona, and 6 is a serious number. When the Cardinals score 6, you get a 20-ounce coffee, fountain, or frozen drink for just a quarter the next day at On the Run at Mobile. Win or lose, the Cardinals score 6, you score 25-cent drinks at On the Run. Here's Rick Ankiel. And the first pitch is a strike at the knees. Our good buddy Al, Charlie Spoonhour, who is a huge Cardinal fan.
Is he here?
Yes, he is here.
We usually see him out here.
He wants to come up to the booth tomorrow. I said you wouldn't let him.
Charlie can do whatever he wants.
So I guess I need to talk to you, make sure it's okay that Spoon comes on up.
As long as he tells us some stories of Purdy, Missouri.
Oh, he's got plenty of those. You know that. He's in then. What a good man he is. Charlie Spoonhour. No balls and 2 strikes on Rick Ankiel, who fly to left. Ankiel so far a couple of RBIs this season, and he's 5 for 21. He's in the 7th spot in this lineup, and as we have seen, you come to the ballpark and you're a Cardinal, you're not sure where you're going to be concerning Tony La Russa's lineup. Ankiel strikes out. And that's strikeout number 2 for Doug Davis. Isn't that the case, though, partner? I mean, yeah, especially as you talked about earlier with these outfielders and left, right, and how you want to match up. You just don't know where he's going to put you in this particular lineup.
Yeah, you don't know whether the pitcher's batting 8 or, you know, is it going to be a position player like it is tonight? And Jason LaRue getting his first start.
And the first pitch taken for a strike as LaRue singled back in the 3rd.
Jason actually got pinch hitting appearance the other day and then went in to play the final few innings at first base for Albert. Pitch hit for Albert.
That's something you tell your kids. You say, go back to whatever it was, April 8th. Look at that.
Well, it was right here.
I pinch hit for Albert Pujols.
Yeah, it was right here where Tony, you know, still regrets that Kerry Robinson pinch hit for Mark McGwire.
Good point.
His last, you know, last time he was to hit.
1-1 pitch. And LaRue pops it up at foul. Near the Cardinal dugout, 2 strikes. It is. Go ahead, Al.
But I was going to say, that just tells you how committed Tony is to winning the ball game. It was an obvious bunt situation, and, you know, he gave the Cardinals the best chance to win by sending up Kerry Robinson bunt instead of Mark McGwire. And, you know, he just is consistent in how he, you know, what he does in order to win.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. With all the great people that he's had a chance to manage over the years, do you think there's a better one than Pujols, player-wise?
You'd have to ask Tony, but I mean, you know, and
he'll say there's one and 1A and 1B and 1C, you know. But I was
going to say he hates the kind of.
But you and I could talk about it. I mean, think about some of the great players and pitchers that he's had a chance to manage. I mean, you've got Dennis Eckersley, one of the great closers. You've got arguably one of the best leadoff, if not the best leadoff man ever, Ricky Henderson. You think about the power of McGuire. There's a base hit for LaRue. But I guess you have to think of the all-around player that Albert Pujols is. Defensively, smarts, power, average, all those things. You know, he certainly has to come to mind. He'd be in that conversation, no doubt.
Yeah.
Here's the Aflac trivia question. Name the 4 other Cardinals to have 7 RBIs in a game twice in their career. Of course, Pujols had 7 with the grand slam and then the 3-run homer on Saturday against Houston. 4 of the Cardinals.
Gentleman Jim.
Yep.
Enos, Stan, and George Hendrick.
Silent George.
First 3 all in the Hall of Fame.
Now, with all your work with the alumni fantasy camp, where's George Hendrick?
First base coach for Tampa Bay.
Get him out there.
What? Oh,
get him out there. Get him out there.
He's been to the camp a
okay,
couple times.
I just never hear you talk about
Oh, no. I mean, I think...
I get concerned that there's no Silent George.
Oh, no. He's been there, and he's kind of got a standing invitation.
Second sacrifice for Wellemeyer. And LaRue is in scoring position. Sunday, June 7th, Busch Stadium hosts the 5th annual Purina Pooch is in the ballpark day, so come downtown, enjoy a game with man's best friend beside you. A very limited number of tickets are on sale now at stlcardinals.com.
You know, first year that George was there, I think some of the people were kind of shocked. So why would you have Silent George? Well, they learned
he wasn't silent.
Learned very quickly that he wasn't silent, and what a great guy he is. And I mean, he's something special.
You know, they came through town last year. I had a kick out of visiting with George Hendrick. That was great. Of course, he was part of some very good teams in St. Louis.
And by the way, I talked to a played for the Blue Jays, but he is a Tampa Bay scout. And I asked him about Isringhausen, and he said they're very happy with him, just trying on disabled list, trying to get him more arm strength. But they like him, and they think that he can help them.
Cal, you would know better than anybody. I mean, you want to get to 300. If you're that close, you still have that fire in you to pitch. You want to get to 300. And right now, that's certainly the case with Isringhausen trying to get to 300 saves.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's going to get that opportunity.
I agree. You know, you look at their staff and their bullpen, it's going to be tough.
Right, and right now, is the goal is to get to the major leagues and help a team win. And if you get that opportunity, I'm sure he'll get, an opportunity here and there. But he's without injury, he's not going to be designated the closer.
It's 3-0 now on the Cardinal leadoff man Barden, with Khalil Green, who's over 2 on deck. Barden is over 2. He is struck out and flied out to center. Take a look at the grip here now for Doug Davis.
Looks like he gets into a change-up grip back into his hand. And that's true to form. It's the toughest. You get in your most extreme grip. And then as you put it in, get your sign, you put it to your glove, you can always change it. But if you were to have a fastball grip and then change it to that curveball grip, that's when you probably would wiggle the glove a little bit or give it away.
The next to Barden, and a fly ball out to center. This should do it. Chris Young is there, and he'll put it away. So the Cardinals strand a runner. They're third on the night. And it's 1-1 midway through 5. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Kia Motors. To learn more, visit kia.com. By Aflac, ask about it at work. By the Casino Queen, home of the loosest slots in the country. And by McDonald's. Come into McDonald's today and get your large soft drink or sweet tea for just $1. Chase Field in Arizona. Dan McLaughlin, Al Hrabosky with you, and the first pitch is swung on and missed. Good delivery off speed that time at 75 miles an hour from Todd Wellemeyer. Cardinals and Diamondbacks tied up 1-1 here in the D-backs half of the 5th.
Chris Snyder is one of those young catchers that you got to put in as a very strong offensive player. Set off career highs in most offensive categories last year, including setting D-backs record for 16 home runs.
Al, how much do you think it carries over the fact that they led their division? And you're talking about postseason play, postseason play, postseason play, and then all of a sudden you lose.
153 games,
right?
Or something like that.
I mean, you're talking 75% of their games they're in first place, and you're looking at the playoffs. How much do you think that carries over into this year?
Well, hopefully it doesn't. You know, and part of the problem was they had a very young ball club, and they got off to a great start last April. And you know, there are a bunch of free swingers, and it's tough to not be aggressive. And you see the circle change-up grip, and then the off-speed keeps it down, fools him. The arm angle's all the same with his simplified motion. That's 3 strikeouts in a row.
Popped up and out of play at 90 miles an hour. 1 ball. Or rather 1-1 game, no balls and 1 strike here on Doug Davis, who singled off of Todd Wellemeyer, literally his first time up.
And not much of a hitter. Career .073 hitter.
You know, you think about it though. You're talking about postseason play, and you're in first place. You're the ones being chased the entire year, and then you give up that lead. There's a strikeout for Wellemeyer, and that's 4 now, 4 strikeouts in a row. But you think about that, and you know, it's human nature. You wonder if it does carry over a little bit because you're asked about it nonstop.
Well, and you know, Bob Melvin has a work in progress here. He has a lot of talent. He's got a core. They got a lot of power, but they strike out way too much, and they just don't help themselves in. And you know, hitting with runners in scoring position.
Here's Felipe Lopez. They have an outstanding crew, by the way, here in Arizona. I want to thank them.
The one thing about this club is, you know, they got to go out there and they have to deal with that, but they're so young that I think a lot of them can kind of put it aside and say it's part of the growing pains.
Lopez doubled his first time up, and now he singles. He's 2 for 3. Couple of hits for Felipe Lopez. Wonder if he and Albert will have words over there at first base. There they go. Your favorite thing, Al? Talking with the opposition.
Oh, yeah. And what are you talking about? Hey, man, that pitcher on the mound, he's easy.
Not this guy. He's been pretty good tonight. And that's Todd Wellemeyer. He's only allowed 6 hits and 1 run. As we play here with 2 outs and a runner at first in the bottom of the 5th. Runner thought about going through to first. Oh, they almost got him. And Pujols wants to argue. I'm not sure, Al, if he started and then came back, but
yeah, he did. He looked like he wanted to run.
Oh boy.
And Albert thought in his mind he got him out.
Well, look at the slide. He doesn't initially go to the bag. He goes to the back of the bag and then goes to the bag.
Jim Reynolds, our first base umpire, from his angle really couldn't see when the tag was applied, but I think the replay showed that probably got him before his hand snuck in.
Pretty close. 1-0 pitch with 2 outs. Here it comes from Todd Wellemeyer.
And hold it until somebody calls time.
When you were pitching, how many times did you have something ordered from the dugout?
Never.
I mean, it wasn't like go high and tight, don't throw over, pitch out, whatever.
Well, I mean, rarely maybe something like that, but never, you know, the attention was paid to base stealing like this, to where all the little things to stop, you know, throw over or hold the ball, take the life out of a base stealer, or make somebody call timeout. Those things would never happen.
Well, I know that you never miss a pregame, right?
Exactly.
And I had Tim McCarver on our pregame on Friday.
Yes.
And I said, what's the biggest difference from when you were playing to what you see now?
Besides money.
That's a pretty big difference. Good point. He didn't say that, but he said base running.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you agree with that. Foul territory. Pujols. He's got it. We played 5. Cardinals and Diamondbacks tied up at 1. 1-1 game here in Arizona. This date in Cardinals history, the greatest Cardinal of them all. Stan the Man at Wrigley Field. See all those runs. 1,869th run, which at that time set a new National League record. Cardinals would win 8-5 in 15 innings. Musial, by the way, only played 12 games back in 1941. Stan the Man. Off the glove of the third baseman, and he can't stay with it to make the play. That's Reynolds. And a leadoff hit for Khalil Green. And it brings up Albert Pujols with a runner on. Let's go back to the fourth inning and the little things that he does. That's not so little. The home run, he knew it off the bat. And then his defense, Al, look at this.
That's right. Traps the runner after he gets a double. Drive in their first run. And throws behind and snares him. By the way, they scored that a base hit. So Khalil Green gets his first hit.
First pitch to Albert and a double play ball. Out at second. Yeah, he stepped on the bag. Out at first. High throw at second, but 5-4-3 on the double play. But how do you...
Nice play by Felipe Lopez.
How do you fault Albert? He hits another rocket.
Right.
You know?
A hard hit ball and then the high throw. So he comes back down on the bag. Crew chief Tim Welke was right there making sure that he stepped on the second base bag, took his time, then threw out Albert.
And it brings in Ludwig. 1-1 game here in the sixth.
Now this playing surface is noted to be very fast.
Yep.
The grass is very fast. The dirt is usually very true.
First pitch to Ludwig. Right center. Base hit, on his way for two. Good hustle by Justin Upton, but the double there for Ludwig.
You know, there you're trying to make the spectacular catch and you play it into a double. Not quite as aggressive, but you let it one hop and you hold him to a single. Kind of jams him a little bit, falls in front of the right fielder. It goes off his glove and he deflects it away from the center fielder. Young eventually gets it, but not before Ludwig has the double.
Brings in Chris Duncan, who is popped out at third and also flied out to left. Let's see if he can't deliver. 2 outs, runner at second. Go ahead run at second. Breaking ball taken low. Ludwig, Al, off to a good start now.
Oh, absolutely. That hitting streak, career high.
17
games now. We go back to 11 from last season.
And now 9 base hits to start the year.
See if Duncan doesn't get a hanging breaking ball and thrill this crowd. Another Cardinal home run.
On deck, David Freese. One-0 pitch to Duncan. Tapped off the plate, 1 ball, 1 strike. First baseman over there is Chad Tracy, near the line. Very close over there to the line. Is that how you would want to play Duncan in this situation?
You know, I mean, you've got a breaking ball pitcher up there. And I guess they're assuming that he's going to be something soft that he's going to pull.
And he gets a fastball in.
Well,
right on cue, huh?
That's one thing. I mean, Davis, but it was inside, so another pitch that if he does hit it, he probably pull it. He made contact with that one, he'd probably pull it foul.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Duncan. He could put the Cardinals back on top. Pujols gave the Cardinals a lead back in the 4th with a solo home run. His 4th of the year. Trying to get him to chase. He doesn't. And it's 2-2.
Snyder, the catcher, kind of up out of his catching stance, try to get him to chase a ball up.
What is going through his mind? Dave Duncan, the father of Chris Duncan, watching intently. 2-2 pitch. Would you think that those conversations have to be more than just the quote-unquote normal dad talking to the normal son? You've got a guy that played in the big leagues. His son is playing the big leagues. Oh, by the way, his dad has been a pitching coach for 30 years. Hey, Chris, this is what they're probably thinking.
I think Dave would be an excellent hitting instructor too.
Time called. But certainly you'd have to think that Dave goes over scenarios with Chris about particular pitchers.
Yep. You know, and I think Dave will sit there and say, you know, this is what they're going to try to do to you. This is the way he tries to map out a game plan for his pitcher.
Swung on and missed. Off-speed delivery, and Duncan strikes out. So the double play off of Pujols' bat, 5-4-3. The double by Ludwig, and then the strikeout of Duncan. Midway through 6, 1-1. There's a look at Chase Field and our Bud Light What's on Tap. The difference is drinkability. Bud Light. And tomorrow we're on the air at 6 on Fox Sports Midwest. And that, of course, will be 8 o'clock back home and 6 here locally. Stephen Drew, Connor Jackson, and Chad Tracy for the Diamondbacks. Bunt attempt, bunted foul. It's something that Stephen Drew can do. He hits for power, hits for average, and he can also bunt.
Stephen last year became the 3rd shortstop in Major League history to collect at least 40 doubles, 10 triples, and 20 home runs in a season. Joined Robin Yount in Milwaukee in 1980 and 82, and Nomar Garciaparra in 97 with Boston.
Stephen Drew.
And he hit for the cycle, wasn't that against us?
Yes.
Or the Cardinals?
Yeah. Yes, it was.
I didn't serve up any of those.
No, we were up here just
hits,
watching. Were you ever on the mound with something historic happening? For instance.
In my mind? Yes.
I'd rather not. I'd rather not go into your mind.
But it may not have been historic to anybody else.
Well, I know you.
Well, I threw one pitch with 2 batters and a manager at home plate. Somehow it started a fight.
You want to describe this?
It was a legal pitch. Umpire ordered me to throw a pitch. Pitch before there was no batter. And, you know, if an umpire tells you to throw, you throw it and it's an automatic strike. Then the next pitch, Jose Cardinal was the on-deck hitter. He jumped in the batter's box. Bill Madlock, the scheduled hitter, jumped in the batter's box. Jim Marshall, the manager of the Cubs, stepped in the batter's box. And I threw my next pitch.
There you have it.
Simmons popped up, popped Bill Madlock, had a good, really good 20-minute brawl.
You love that.
And after it was all said and done, I was pitching. Cardinal was the on-deck hitter. Madlock was the hitter. Simmons was catching. Shag Crawford was the umpire.
All is well with the world.
And Jim Marshall got thrown out for arguing.
Here's a 3-2 pitch. Here's a ground ball, base hit, past Barton. Well, I look down in that dugout of Arizona, and you see Kurt Gibson.
Kurt Gibson.
Cardinal fans, when it comes to tickets, you deserve Major League service. So go online to StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals, and the only site with Fan Protect guarantee. I need to ask Tony this, and I never have, but I want to. Now that I see Kirk Gibson, he hit, of course, the pinch hit game-winning 2-run homer off of Dennis Eckersley, Game 1 back in 1988 of the World Series. Really set the tone, obviously, for the Dodgers. They won that series, but I wonder if Tony, as competitive as he is, have those two talked that much about it, if at all?
Well, it wouldn't surprise me if they have, but Gibson's not really one of the more talkative guys. He's pretty stern, and you know, he was injured at that time, and The only pitch he could hit is what Eckersley threw. After a lengthy time, Eckersley didn't take any warm-up pitches. And it's kind of a no-no in itself. And
we were talking about Jack Buck. That's got to be one of his greatest calls ever, if not the best ever.
I don't believe what I just saw.
Go Crazy has got to be up there.
Yep.
The Jack Clark home run, but there's so many, but certainly on a national level, that's one of the best ones ever.
Absolutely.
1-1 game here in the 6th, and a check on the runner, Stephen Drew, over there at first base.
Just get the feeling right there that Albert was not looking forward to that throw.
After he took the
he took that bunt play,
BB.
He, Albert, after he caught that laser, because remember, he could throw a lot harder, Wellemeyer, but he's been instructed to, hey, back off, we have better control, but he let go of that ball, and Albert had to take his glove off, make sure his hand was all right.
Here's a pop-up. Freeze is calling for it and has it. Well, this is interesting. When you talk to Jose Oquendo, he looks at every little aspect of trying to help a middle infielder, or in this case, like we talked about earlier, Albert Pujols. So how does Jose tell Albert to hold on? And he says, really, I said to him, I said, well, Keith Hernandez would do it this way. Albert Pujols does it this way. He says, that doesn't matter. Of course, the All-Star game in St. Louis, and you would think Albert would be a part of that, but if I get him out to this level, and he drew it in the dirt, that's where he needs to be. And again, you're probably nitpicking a little bit, and he fully acknowledges that. He said, but the guy is just an unbelievable player. Unbelievable.
And the beautiful thing about him is he just always wants to improve. And his awareness of what's happening around him is remarkable. It goes back to that sixth sense of baseball instincts.
Right. Runner not going. And Stephen Drew with good speed at first. Would they want to test Jason LaRue here in a 1-1 game?
And this is what I brought up earlier, where sometimes Bob Melvin, is very reluctant to send some of his base stealers because he's always worrying about a strike him out, throw him out, because they just don't make contact.
1-1 pitch. Out of play.
He was referring to 3-2 pitches. 1 out, 3-2. It's always, most time automatic that guy's going to be running, especially a ground ball pitcher.
Well, let me ask you, if you're hitting 218 as a team, aren't you trying to generate some kind of offense?
Well, but it's kind of, it's a twofold process where you want guys to be aggressive, but yet they're always expanding the strike zone, and so he wants them to take pitches.
Jammed him. Popped up. Barden puts it away. 2 outs. How about Wellemeyer tonight, Al? Your thoughts?
Much, much better. And the one good thing about Wellemeyer the other day was, and it was such a struggle, is he gave up 12 hits in 5 innings and 5 earned runs. His innings 4 and 5 were much better. So at least he had something to build off it. And Dave Duncan said he had a very good side session. And he's been able to take that into this game, simplify his motion, get the ball down, locate his pitches. He's made some outstanding pitches. And other than Chad Tracy, it's double. He's been very good with, not giving up multiple hits per inning.
Mark Reynolds over 2 with a strikeout and a ground out here tonight. Leadoff single by Stephen Drew. He stands at first. Pujols holding. You see that there, Al? How Pujols is holding at first. And when you play, that necessarily wasn't the case. When you look at how he straddles the bag and how certain guys, whether right-handed or left-handed, would hold a runner on at first.
Well, remember, Keith Hernandez actually
was
sort of
side.
illegal as he was in foul territory, and because he's left-handed, he could just drop his glove onto the bag.
Chance for the Rue, and got him. Good throw by Jason LaRue. So caught stealing, Stephen Drew sends us to the 7th. Strong throw by the backup catcher of the Cardinals. 1-1 after 6. David Freese leads it off for St. Louis here in the 7th. And this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. 2 balls and no strikes on the Cardinal third baseman David Freese. Freese, Ankiel, and LaRue for St. Louis here in the top of the 7th. Well, Doug Davis did not have one of his better outings last Wednesday. 4 runs on 4 hits in 5 innings. Diamondbacks lost to the Rockies 9-2 here at Chase Field. Things did not start out on a good note for the lefty. A home run to Dexter Fowler on the game's first pitch. He settled in for a couple innings after that, but the Rockies were able to put up a 3 spot against him in the 4th, and that's not the way that he wants to start the 7th. Partner in this game, a leadoff walk.
His first walk of the night, but a leadoff walk that usually spells trouble.
Here's Ricky Ankiel. No activity right now in the Arizona bullpen. So here we have how Chad Tracy holds a runner on at first with Ricky Ankiel up. You look at how Tracy is, he'll get himself in position, and that is popped up a mile high. He'll fling the bat and caught in foul territory. But you know, Tracy, Al, is a lot different than what you see from Albert Pujols.
Sure. And just how he, you know, gets set, and then with the runner on, now he got in position was a lot different. Jason LaRue's having a real strong game. That's good to see.
It was interesting in talking with Jose Oquendo, who studies this stuff, how you hold on a runner, what you do up the middle. He said, we don't teach one way or another. Just be comfortable and get yourself in a fielding position. And that's completely different to how Albert would hold a runner on at first. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you know, it gives a small target as he's just showing his left side to his pitcher. By the way, Davis does have a pretty good pickoff move.
Very good move.
LaRue 2 for 2, and he nailed the base stealer trying to steal. So a strong game for Jason.
Grounded to third, out at second, on to first. Double play. Quick inning for Davis. Time to stretch. 1-1 game. 1-1 game, and entertaining ball game so far here from Chase Field in Arizona. Well pitched, well played, and it's 1-1. And partner, here you have Todd Wellemeyer pitching into the 7th inning. This is what the Cardinals wanted to see. Give them a chance to win, and he's done that tonight.
He's done a very good job redeeming himself from, and you know, figuring out what went wrong. He just looked like he was confused those first 3 innings. Just wasn't comfortable at all. As I said, he got a little better in the 4th and 5th inning, and he's just pitching like he did last year when he was a breakout year for him.
And again, to reiterate what he's done. Oh, Freese comes up with a nice play. That's the hot corner.
Playing in on the grass too, and that was just a rocket off the bat of Reynolds, who hit 28 home runs a year ago and strikes out a ton, but he connected on this one.
I was about to say, to reiterate what Wellemeyer has done. Nice play by David Freese. You get a look at the Cardinal third baseman, but Wellemeyer's really tried to eliminate all the movement by going over his head and pitching.
He just looks comfortable.
Yes, he does. Deep center, plenty of room, and Keel.
Yes, and Upton really struggled.
So Al, and yes, Upton has. What do you see with Wellemeyer and not going above his head and the lack of movement going towards the plate?
Well, you know, everything over your head is counterproductive. You know, people say it kind of gets you going. You see his pitching ratio there. You know, much more efficient, and that's one of the things that, You know, we get Wainwright keeping his pitch count down, and you know that's only a matter of time how talented he is.
There's Chris Snyder with 2 outs and nobody on. Let's go back to the Upton at bat and the fly out to center. What do you see?
Well, Upton is a very talented young man, but he's 0 for 12 to start this season. Gets underneath the breaking ball, hit a long way out to center field, but that's the Death Valley out there. And you know, there's some talk is should he go back to the minor leagues?
And Keel falling to his knees to make the catch. It's 407 to one part of the park, 413 to left and right center. And Rick Keel going back to make the catch. 1-1 after 7. 1-1 game here in the top of the 8th. Well played, as we said earlier. Let's take a look at our game recap. Todd Wellemeyer, the Cardinals starter. This is brought to you by Infinity, as both these starters now will pitch into the 8th. And Wellemeyer's been very good. He's worked on his control and obviously his delivery. One of the differences in this game, brought to you by Infinity, Albert Pujols. That's his home run back early on in this game, his 4th. Last 2 starts for the Cardinals, Loge and Wellemeyer. You can't say it enough, as you were a guy, Al, that spent your life in a bullpen. I mean, if a starting rotation can take innings off a bullpen,
oh, that's it.
By the end of the year, you got a chance to win.
Yeah, his night is through as Brendan Ryan is pinch hitting for Todd Wellemeyer. But I mean, Welly went out there and really set the tone in this ball game. Brendan Ryan's got that 3 for 9 going here. But Todd pitched extremely well in this ball game. 7 innings, 7 hits, 1 run, 1 earned run, no walks. So that's a key in 4 strikeouts.
0-1 pitch to Brendan Ryan, who was looking forward to family and friends. He was telling both of us last night that family and friends would make the drive from Los Angeles here to Arizona. 0-2.
You get a chance to see him right now.
Wellemeyer in this position sacrificed twice. So I'll ask you, are you a little surprised after a quick inning for Wellemeyer that Tony has decided to go with a pinch hitter here and not keep him in this game?
Well, I mean, I think part of it is just still early. There's a lot of season left. He's got the pitch count up there. Keep it on a very positive note.
I think you're right. I think if you were talking maybe 4 or 5 months into the season,
right,
different story. But like you said, very early on, and it's a different story. Let's go pitch by pitch, brought to you by Chevy.
Now that slow, deliberate wind up, and he chases that ball up in the zone. Then he goes after a breaking ball that's down and away. Then he kind of doesn't chase this one, but there he gets that high strike and a generous call as he strikes out his 4th strikeout. It's Brendan Ryan, the 4th victim.
Top of the lineup, and here's Barton.
Struck out Barton to start this game, but you know, these hitters kind of get mesmerized a little bit with Doug Davis's motion, because he has that hesitation, that pause. He takes so much time in delivering a pitch that they just kind of get, you know, they get tensed at the plate.
Barton tonight is struck out, as Al told you, to start the game, and twice he has flied to center. So 0 for 3 tonight, and the game-winning hit against the Pirates last week. The 2-0 pitch to Barton.
And the opening day roster for Arizona back in '07. Let's talk about it. It was a brief stay, but
out of play. 2-2. Saw on that graphic that Chris Carpenter will pitch tomorrow for the Cardinals, and had a chance to visit with Chris before tonight's game, and he feels great. You know, it's just a normal season right now for him.
Absolutely. You talked about that late in the offseason, or in the offseason, that He was treating everything as a normal without, though he had a minor elbow surgery, and they treated it like he had just a normal offseason.
And he was nasty in that first start.
He sure was. But it was something I expected him. You know, based on what I saw and just the caliber of pitcher he is, it was something. I'm going to say 7 shutout innings and 1 hit.
And Barton lifts it out to deep right field, to the wall, and it's gone. And the Cardinals lead it on an opposite field home run from Brian Barton. Just got over the wall, and it's 2-1 Cardinals. Boy, did that just get over the wall. You'll take it, though, right?
It's like it's 500-foot blast to me. And
you
don't think it came out a little bit of feeling good against the team that you played for at one time and gave up on you? That is his first major league home run. So how about that? And it could be another game winner.
So 2 hits and 2 potential game winners for Barton. Way to go, Brian Barton.
And opposite field, as you noted.
Here's Khalil Green. You know, that's the thing that stands out to me, Al, is that a home run is one thing. A lot of guys walk into home runs, but opposite field is a different story.
Different story, and you know, that's just the way things go. You never used to see, you know, middle infielders taking balls the opposite way and hit it out of the ballpark.
One-two pitch. Up and away to Khalil Green, who's 1 for 3.
And so many times with a guy like Doug Davis is, you know, you're out in front of the pitch, you take the power away from it, but he can cut the ball and get inside on right-handed batters. We're going to try and do it now.
2-2 with 1 out, nobody on, and a swing and a miss. Green strikes out. 2 strikeouts in the inning, and against Doug Davis, Brian Barton, the Cardinals leadoff man with our Hardy's prime cut of the game. Drafted back in '02 by Arizona. Made the opening day roster in '07. And as he was telling me before the game, lasted 11 days, then sent down. The Cardinals picked him up. So you know that means a little bit extra to him here tonight so far. I mean, hey, it's human nature.
Sure it is. And sometimes you try a little too hard against a former team, trying to show that they made a mistake. You just got to stay within yourself.
So 2 outs, nobody on for Albert. 2 balls, no strikes on Pujols. Take a look at the signals here for Albert Pujols. What do they want to come with 2-0?
Slider, cutter, backdoor it. You know, so many times you're going to pitch inside with that pitch, but he has a lot of confidence in backdooring, making a hitter give up on it, thinking it's going to be away, and then it breaks to the corner. So
Doug Davis looks down, he gets a signal, he says, I hope you're right. Here we go. 3-1.
Another slider.
Hit the short. Low throw, and Pujols is still out. But the damage has been done. Brian Barton with a home run opposite field. Cardinals lead at 2-1. Cardinals baseball on Fox Sports Midwest is brought to you by Budweiser Select. Full flavor, 99 calories, the exception to the rule. By Bank of America. Cardinals banking only at Bank of America. And by Chevy. See your Mid-America Chevy dealers or shop and compare at stlchevy.com. So Brian Barton could be the hero tonight. 6 outs away for the Cardinals as they lead at 2-1. And Barton hits a home run, and now it's Kyle McClellan. Brendan Ryan stays in the ballgame to play second base, and Barton takes over at third. So McClellan, Al, has been terrific so far.
Yeah, Kyle had a rough spring, but he is was ready, and you get tested right away as Ojeda hits the ball right to Brendan Ryan for the first out. 1 pitch, 1 out.
Good start. Well, Kyle has had a save already. He had a rough spring, and he'll tell you about that. But, hey, you start the regular season, it's new season. Wellemeyer threw 4 pitches in the 7th, and on the first pitch here in the 8th, they ground out to the second baseman, Brendan Ryan. So here's Felipe Lopez, the leadoff man, and a breaking ball taken low and in. Talked to Ryan Franklin out tonight and asked him about being the elder statesman, if you will, or the leader of that bullpen for the Cardinals. He said after the 5th inning, you really start to pay attention to what's going on. And I asked him about McClellan. He says, hey, anytime you get to 0-2, these guys are looking for that great breaking ball. And he said, hey, this is one of the better breaking balls right now in the major leagues. And you'd have to agree. I mean, McClellan has got a very good breaking ball, especially when you get a guy 0-2.
Well, he's got 4 quality pitches, and that's why they had him going to spring training as a backup starter in case something happened to Carpenter or any of the other starters. They had felt that he could go into that rotation.
And he talked to Kyle about anytime you get to 0-2 without a curveball, hey, you got a chance to do some real damage.
Yeah, we saw Denny Reyes, the lefty, warming up.
Check swing and a foul ball.
It'll be interesting to see who pitches the 9th inning.
You bet. I was about to ask you, what do you think Tony's thinking right now?
Well, I mean, I talked to Dave Duncan a little bit. They're going to use Mott like they did the other day in kind of non-pressure situations, kind of get him, it's a long season, get him righted. And Dave wasn't sure about Franklin because he said he warmed up the last 2 games under conditions that he was coming in, you know, for a save situation. So he didn't know if he would be available.
Which games? So meaning Saturday, Sunday?
Right. You know,
okay.
like even as good as Loesch was, that
you
had to have him ready just
up.
in case. And so, you know, it felt like it wasn't just a normal tune-up.
3-2 on Felipe Lopez. Hard hit. Diving stop by Ryan to first. And he got him. Oh, what a play.
What a play.
Brendan Ryan.
You know what?
That's a great play.
He just threw that ball right over the first base bag. And Albert, you know, who ranges so far to his right, had to really scramble to get back. And when Brendan throws this ball, it's really Albert's got his back almost to him.
Wow.
But he knows where he is. And Brendan saves the day right there with that defensive play, and Albert is right there. You know, McClellan did exactly what he needed to do. He was there in case he needed to receive the throw, but Albert scrambled back, got back there, and with his back almost to the bag, stepped down on the bag and received the throw from the second baseman.
Here's Chris Young and a swing and a miss. No disrespect to Brian Barden. I'm not sure, Al, that he makes that play. And you've got Barden at third, and now Brendan Ryan over at second.
Yeah, and I think Brendan has more range over there, and Barden more comfortable at third base than second.
Now quickly, 2 strikes on Chris Young.
Play like that really picks up your pitcher. And you go out there and you get, you're thinking, oh my goodness, here you give up a 1-out base hit, and then your defense pulls off a great play. That just pumps you up.
Just a fantastic play there by Ryan, and you can see the LaRue wants it low, the 0-2. Nope, it's up, and it's past Barden. Hung that breaking ball, and it's misplayed out and left, and quickly to second, Chris Young.
Wow.
Gives you an idea of his speed.
Well, single E7. And you're right, LaRue wanted that curveball bounced in the dirt. There you see Duncan comes over here, takes a little hop, goes up his wrist, and that's just the difference because it was a single. He was stopped right there, and the error puts him in scoring position. And Tony will make a pitching change with Denny Reyes with Stephen Drew, the left-handed hitter there.
So McClellan gets 2 outs here in the 8th inning. And Tony going to the bullpen from the left side. Denny's Reyes coming in to face Stephen Drew. Our call to the bullpen is brought to you by Chevy. The tying run is at second base. And the go-ahead run is at the plate. What a fantastic play, folks, from the second baseman, Brendan Ryan. Wow. 2-1 Cardinals. Look at Denny's Reyes trying to get the final out here in this bottom of the 8th. And he's appeared in 3 games so far and has picked up a save for the Cardinals. And big out right here, partner. You got Stephen Drew coming up.
Well, Stephen Drew, tough hitter, and it's a good matchup. Reyes has been perfect retiring the first batter he faces in his 3 for 3, and that is a key stat right now because Stephen Drew probably would drive in that tying run with any kind of base hit.
First pitch to him is taken for a strike. Stephen Drew is an outstanding talent. 3rd place in this lineup, and he's got a couple of hits. He's been caught stealing by Jason LaRue and a good throw to second. And Drew is singled, and he's also doubled. There's another breaking ball, bounce to Albert. Pujols will take it himself and step on the bag. Sends us to the 9th. Good job by Denny's Reyes. 2-1 St. Louis. Well, there's a look at our call to the bullpen brought to you by Chevrolet. And Tony Pena takes over, retired all 4 batters he faced with 2 strikeouts on opening day against Colorado back on the 6th of this month. And he's made his 3rd straight Diamondbacks opening day roster with 1-1 in 8 spring appearances, an ERA of 9. And you see what he's done this season. He faces Ryan Ludwig, first batter for the Cardinals. 2-1 St. Louis here in the 9th inning.
Real good fastball, and he starts off Ludwig with a breaking ball, and him way out in front.
Ludwig tonight. Single and a double.
Couple sliders.
I think the big question now for anybody watching at home is who closes out the 9th for St. Louis.
Now apparently Franklin.
And Ludwig hits it a ton out to center, to the track, to the wall, and it's going to stay in the ballpark. On an 0-2 pitch, he gave it a ride.
Yeah, Franklin's available. I'm sure his location wasn't where he wanted it. You always ask Dave Duncan who's available. He goes, well, I don't know until they play catch. So he was saying if anybody was not going to be available, it'd be Franklin, but apparently he felt good enough.
And now it's Duncan with 1 out and nobody on.
And Schumacher on deck, so he will replace Chris defensively, we would assume.
Yeah, you got the pitcher spot on deck, so that's Schumacher. And here's Duncan. He's 0 for 3. Strikeout back in the 6th. Pulls that one fair. Not touched by a fan, and Duncan on his way to second. He's in there safely.
Perfect carom to Upton, and you see one of his 5 tools is his throwing arm.
Boy, he played that well.
Talking about how this playing surface is extremely fast, so guarding the line here, and it still goes right over the line, and Tracy can't corral it. And Duncan always runs hard. I mean, he always runs hard, and he needed to in this situation because they made a close play at second. Upton has a strong throwing arm.
Sure does. They talk about him being a 5-tool player. And now it's Schumacher. Looking ahead now to the bottom of the 9th.
They're stalling to get a lefty warmed up for Schumacher.
Jackson, Tracy, and Reynolds all coming up. So 4, 5, and 6. Thing is about Skip, though, he's been a lot better against lefties so far in the first week of the season and in spring training. So could be a different story here in 2009. Cardinals trying to add some insurance, and that's a huge run out there. Duncan at second base. Schoenweiss coming in. It's 2-1. 2-1 St. Louis here in the top of the 9th, and 1 out, runner at second base. There's a look at Scott Schoenweis. Made his 11th opening day roster and first with Arizona. You see his numbers so far. Went 0-1 with an 11 ERA, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts in 9 Cactus League games. He's a guy that's made 297 relief appearances since '05. First among lefties and 4th among all major league relievers. And entered this season with a record of 45 and 55 and an ERA that's close to 5. So Schoenweis will face Skip Schumacher here. It's a big run out there, partner, out at second base.
That's right, and so he'll go in and replace Duncan, but he just didn't have the bench step to go and put a pinch runner in for Duncan. But you know, for a big man, he runs pretty well.
1 out, runner at second. Here's Skip Schumacher against Schoenweis. First pitch, a strike.
And Skip, because he's getting so many plate appearances against lefties, you know, a year ago he hit 195. Now it's not, you know, he's got a fighting chance now.
They're very deep in left field. A bit surprising here with Skip Schumacher, who really slices the ball, especially against lefties. That's strike 2. It's Connor Jackson out in left.
Well, you can see Connor Jackson is worn out of spot out there in left field, as you know, he doesn't move too much on anybody.
2 strikes quickly on Schumacher. Here comes the 0-2. And Skip puts it in play. Oh. How about that hop?
Hands, huh?
Wow. Bad hop to Stephen Drew. May have been off the lip, but he stays with it and makes the play. The chance of Drew here in Arizona as he shakes his head.
Let's see if it does go out the lip, and that's what happened.
Wow.
Right at the edge of the grass and dirt area, and just kicked straight up, but Drew, quick hands, hauled it in.
Now another lefty. Here's Ricky Ankiel. Ankiel is 0 for 3 with a strikeout tonight. Fly to left, fly to shallow right, and is struck out. Good test for Rick here, lefty on lefty. As you have mentioned, if you hang a breaking ball to Ricky Ankiel, not only is Chris Duncan going to be driven in, but so is Ricky Ankiel. He'll lose it in the seats real fast. Broken bat, going out, making the catch, Lopez. 9th inning. The bottom half coming up. The Cardinals trying to hold on. It's a 2-1 St. Louis lead. He could be the hero tonight. 2-1 St. Louis. Brian Barton, an opposite field home run, could be the difference. It's 2-1 in favor of St. Louis, and Ryan Franklin is the new pitcher in for the Cardinals. And Skip Schumacher takes over in left field.
Ryan Franklin last year led the relievers in saves, wins, innings pitched, and appearances. And I think this year, knowing that there was a possibility that he would be the Cardinal closer, he came in with that mindset that he's much better prepared than he was a year ago. You know, his role the first couple of years has been the 8th inning man, and he excelled in that role. When Izzy went on the disabled list, he was thrusted into the save role. He did a good job until Izzy came back, and you know, it felt uncomfortable having the Cardinals' all-time save leader on the active roster, and he's doing his job. But I think now, you know, he is better situated to handle this role this year than he was a year ago when he did a fine job.
So here it is. Connor Jackson will lead it off for Arizona. Jackson has a single tonight, and the Diamondbacks down by a run. You talked about your keys to the game. Get the first game in the series.
You can't sweep until you get the first game. Keep your winning streak going. And as I said, the only 2 wins the Arizona has.
This will help if it stays in play.
And get out of play.
Yep.
But the only 2 wins that Arizona has is the first game of the first 2 series.
It's popped foul out of play. Nothing, or rather 1 ball, 1 strike now on Connor Jackson, Chad Tracy on deck, and then Reynolds. Ryan Franklin with an assortment of pitches. Delivers. Popped up. Backing up the second baseman, Brendan Ryan, and he puts it away. Let's go back, Al, just for a moment to the 8th inning. The outstanding play made by Brendan Ryan. And he takes a hit away. And at that point in the game, I mean, any base hit, not talking about a 5-run lead, you're talking about a 1-run lead. That's huge.
Well, turned a sure base hit, into an out, and then the next hitter gets a base hit, and there was an error at the end of that. So if you had a man on in front of him, you never know.
That's right. So 1 out and a breaking ball in there for a strike.
I will say too, sometimes, when nobody on base, you pitch a little differently.
Now, where would you like to see Franklin fit into this bullpen?
Well, I said in spring training when there was all the
fly ball, left center, should stay in the ballpark, no problem. Out number 2, Schumacher there. Budweiser, great player of the game, is Todd Wellemeyer, the starter tonight, who was outstanding for the Cardinals. Changed his delivery, and it obviously paid off. He felt better, and it showed. As Wellemeyer pitched very well for St. Louis, 7 innings, 7 hits, 1 earned run, and 4 strikeouts. But let's go back to Franklin.
Yeah. Well, when you looked at the 4 potential guys that we're talking about closing out, there was no doubt that Franklin had the most experience. Jason Mott has had his troubles in the early going. Chris Perez finds himself in AAA, and that's not a bad thing. He's gotten off to a good start there, and he's going to be pitching as a closer on a consistent basis. So Franklin made the most sense from an experience standpoint.
Just missed on the outside corner.
He's, Franklin is not a classic closer, but he has good stuff and he has more experience than the others.
1 ball, 1 strike, 2 outs, and nobody on for Arizona against Franklin.
Put it this way, the Cardinals, they knew what their primary need. Their manager said, we need a closer. They felt they had in-house candidates. They didn't go out and get a bona fide closer. Now, they made a run at Fuentes, but he chose to stay, in his Southern California kid, wanted to play for the Angels, and it's hard to, and they didn't really overwhelm him, even though they offered more money up front than what the Angels paid Fuentes.
Here's a ground ball hit to short. Long throw, and the Cardinals, no. Boy, that was close. Reynolds is on.
It was close, but it was the right call.
Remember, U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live is coming up, and the tying run is on. The winning run now comes to the plate.
Yeah, I wonder if Barton got a little bit too close to Khalil Green, and Albert didn't really go out there and stretch, and maybe he was a little surprised, but it's an infield single and the game continues. And here's Tony Clark.
This guy has been something else, hasn't he? Tony Clark.
He's had some big home run seasons. He's been a good pinch hitter later in his career. Mentioned opening day, he hit a home run from each side of the plate, along with Lopez.
So Tony Clark, who certainly is a threat to hit it out of the ballpark, steps in with 2 outs. He represents the winning run. The tying run is at first base. 2-1, 2 outs, bottom of the 9th. And Franklin on the mound for St. Louis. First pitch outside.
He is 3 for 7 off of Franklin in his career with 1 home run. He's a switch hitter.
As we mentioned, U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live is coming up. We'll break down this game. The 1-0 pitch. High drive right field. Got under it. Cardinals win it. 2-1 our final. Franklin gets the save. Bart, the hero tonight, with a game-winning home run to the opposite field. Nice win for the Cardinals, Al.
Very nice win. Good to see Todd Wellemeyer join the rest of the starting staff in pitching efficiently and effectively. Let's turn it over to Carpenter again tomorrow.
U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live is coming up. Nice win for the Cardinals. 2-1 our final tonight. Stay with us. You'll hear from Tony and the rest of the players as well.
The game is over with a Cardinals win. Jack Clark is here to help me break it down. Your thoughts on the 2-1 victory down in Arizona?
Well, all Cardinal pitchers now have a win under their belt, and we've got Chris Carpenter going tomorrow, and so it's good to see Wellemeyer. He's back, so the rest of the league needs to be worried about this Cardinals starting pitching.
Yeah, that's 5 straight wins, 1 each for the Cardinal starters in consecutive order. More on that coming up. Redbirds, too, hitting the road for the first time this year. Can they pick up where they left off at Busch? Todd Wellemeyer looking very good, bouncing back. We'll talk about the Tedalian coming up, and we'll take you inside the Cardinal clubhouse for player reaction and Tony La Russa's post-game comments. Happy birthday to the mighty Max Weinberg. Conan's off the air for now, so stick around for U.S. Cellular Cardinals Live.